Hi. My family taught me how to mourn and grieve when I was 6 years old. My mom had a little boy. He died. And we did everything you were supposed to do. We had a funeral. People brought us food. My mom was allowed to stay in it longer because she had lost her baby. But the rest of us were supposed to move on. We were supposed to go back to normal and make things easier for her. And that made sense to me at the time, but it always felt a little off at home as a result. We never quite moved past it. But outside of home, I was able to sort of find people who I connected with. And in high school, I met my friend David. My friend David was very cool. I had a crush on him right away. He was a drummer on the drum line. He played tenor drums. He was great. And I remember just thinking, I'm not cool enough to be friends with someone like this. I'm so lucky. And I would go to swim practice, and I could hear the drumming from the drum line, and I would try to stroke to the same beat as the drum, just to sort of feel like I was checking in with him. When I left for college, we stayed in touch, and one of the main ways that we kept in touch was that every night he would go on these long walks, and he would text me his route. He would say, I'm going down Winton Way, and then I'm going to turn on Rex, and then I'm going to go home. And it was just to sort of check in with each other, because we both had depression, and we sort of were the main people that we were able to talk to about it. My junior year of college, I was studying abroad in Argentina, and I came home one night, and I was settling in, and I opened up my laptop, which you shouldn't do before bed, but I did it, and I learned my lesson, because when I opened my laptop, the first thing I saw was on Facebook, one of our mutual friends had posted saying, David's mom found him in his room today. He's passed away, and we'll provide you with more information once we know more. At first, I thought maybe it was a really mean prank because he had kind of a mean, not personality, mean sense of humor. But that was part of what was fun about him. And I pretty quickly gleaned that it wasn't a prank, it was real. And I just started poring over everything coming in on Facebook. People were commenting on his wall, talking to him as if he were still alive, saying, we miss you, we're going to miss you. And I started to also put together little clues of people saying, we wish you knew how much we cared. And I finally got up the courage to ask one of my friends what I suspected, which was, how did he die? And she said, he killed himself. At that point, I felt really extra alone, even though I had already lost him. I just thought, one of us is gone from this. What do I do now? So the rest of the night, I didn't have an answer for that, so I just cried. And then I kept crying, and I cried a lot the next few weeks. Because again, I was in Argentina, and all my friends were in California. And they were posting on Facebook, and I was reading every little thing they did. And they were saying, we're having a barbecue. Anyone who knew him is welcome to come over, and we'll talk about him, because he wouldn't want people moping. He'd want people celebrating and talking. And I couldn't go to that barbecue. They posted saying they were going to have a car wash to raise funds for his proper funeral for his mom. And I couldn't do anything. I think I donated money electronically over PayPal because I couldn't wash a car from Argentina. And these things just kept happening, and finally I told myself, okay, it's fine. They're in California, I'm here, it's fine. It's not like this is the first time I've lost someone. I've experienced grief before. We've done this. You have a process for this. You know what you're supposed to do. And maybe you can't do it now, but you can do it later. So when I got back to the United States, I went to California. I was home. I waited for my mom to go out one day, and I grabbed her keys, grabbed her car, and said, all right, I'm going to go to the cemetery. I'm going to go and I'm going to visit him, and then I'll have closure, because that's how it works. And so I drove. But immediately the differences between what I had experienced in grief before and what I was experiencing now became clear. When I was little, someone else would drive to the funeral, to the cemetery. Someone else would drive through almond orchards and trees, and we would go to this pretty cemetery that had a big metal arch over it. And instead, I was driving myself. I had to be on the lookout for other cars. And I was driving down 16th Street in this other town because he was in a different cemetery. And that drive was lined with motels and fairgrounds that were just desolate. I finally got to the cemetery. I said, it's fine. I'm here. This is the important thing. This is what matters. And I got out and I walked into the cemetery and it was empty. Just no other people walking about it. And the first thing I realized is, this isn't laid out like my cemetery, the one that I know. That one is laid out in such a way that the babies and infants are in one corner, veterans are in another area, and then other adults are in the rest of the cemetery, so you know where to go. For this cemetery, it was just one big block. And so I said, all right, that's fine. I'll figure this out. It's one big block. And I noticed a kiosk. So I went to the kiosk, and I circled it a couple of times, hoping that there would be a map with like last names or first names laid out, some sort of grid or a key that would tell me who was where. But there wasn't that either. I don't know if cemeteries usually have it, but this one didn't have it. So then I said, it's fine. I'm just going to walk row by row, and I'm going to find him. And then, again, I will finally get closure. So I started walking row by row. And this seemed easy on paper. I think the idea felt like it would be fine. But what I immediately realized is it was 104 degrees out. It's a hot, hot day. I'm alone. And I'm in this part of town that's really kind of lonely, and it's mostly known for like occasionally having gang activity, and I'm nervous, and I'm going, and the further I walk down these rows, the more I realize I'm not finding him. I'm looking for his name, I'm looking at new tombs, and nothing's turning up. Finally, this black SUV pulls into the cemetery, and logically I understand that it's probably someone else there also to visit someone. But my brain goes wild and says, I'm a person and I'm in danger. I can still be hurt even if he can't, and I need to go. So I walk back to my mom's car. I get in, I sit down, and I cry. And I'm crying and I'm crying, and I'm just thinking, I'm so frustrated. Why can't I fit my grief into this template that I understand, that I have seen my family do? They just do it. They just grieve, they go to the funeral, they cry, and then they call it a day. So why can't I do that with mine? And finally, it kind of just hit me. The circumstances are all different. Right now, immediately, I'm at a different cemetery. This is a different town. He's a different person. Their deaths are different. Their ages are different. My family isn't experiencing this. I am. Maybe I just have to find a way to get through it alone, on my own, in my own way. Thank you.